You did everything right.
You texted back fast. You showed up when she needed you. You never picked fights over small things. You were patient when she was moody. You told her she was beautiful. You checked in. You tried. And somehow, it still fell apart. Or maybe it's still falling apart right now, quietly, while you're sitting there wondering what you missed. You're replaying every conversation. Was I too available? Too nice? Did I care too much? Did I come on too strong? Should I have been more distant? And then the thought that makes your stomach drop. Maybe she just doesn't want a good guy. Here's the truth, and I need you to hear this before we go any further. The problem isn't that you're nice. The world needs more genuinely kind men. The problem is what most people have been taught niceness looks like, and how those well-intentioned behaviors quietly do the opposite of what you hoped. Not because you're weak, not because she's shallow, but because there's a deeper emotional language happening beneath every interaction, and most nice guys were never taught to speak it. You're not failing at love. You're not broken. You're just operating with an incomplete map. And by the end of this video, that changes. We're going to go through the 7 things nice guys do, with the best intentions in the world, that push women away before they even realize what's happening. And more importantly, you're going to understand why, so you can do something about it. Let's get into it. Now, before we go point by point, I want to give you something more valuable than a list of fixes. Most guys believe the problem is that women say they want nice, but they actually don't. That line has been repeated so many times, it's basically become relationship folklore. But that belief is not just wrong. It's actually keeping a lot of genuinely good men stuck in painful patterns. Here's what's really true. Women don't pull away from niceness. They pull away from a specific emotional experience that gets accidentally packaged inside niceness. The experience of feeling like they're not standing across from a real person. Someone with their own desires, limits, and an actual inner world. But instead, standing across from a mirror that only reflects back whatever she seems to need. And here's what that does to her nervous system. It creates a quiet, invisible anxiety. Because when you can't feel where someone ends and you begin, when there's never any resistance, never any honest friction, never a moment where he says, "Actually, I see that differently," the connection starts to feel unreal. Not because he's not trying, but because the safety of real intimacy requires 2 actual people, not one person and their own reflection. This is the anxious avoidant dynamic playing out in slow motion. He moves closer. She feels something tighten. She can't explain it. He tries harder. She pulls back more. And both of them are left confused, hurt, and wondering what went wrong. It's not that she doesn't want kind. It's that nervous systems register presence before they register effort. And what most nice guys accidentally broadcast, despite everything they do, is the emotional signal that says, "I need your approval to feel okay." And she feels that before you've said a single word. That's what we're unpacking today. Not how to be less kind. How to be more real. 1. They make her comfort their entire emotional job. Most guys in relationships fall into the habit of making their partner's emotional state their primary compass. If she's happy, everything's fine. If she seems off, something must be wrong with him or with them. And so every interaction gets unconsciously organized around managing her feelings first, making sure she's not upset, making sure she approves, making sure the emotional climate is calm. And here's the deeper truth beneath that. This isn't weakness. For most nice guys, this pattern started somewhere early, in a home where love felt conditional, or where keeping the peace was survival. The nervous system learned, if she's okay, I'm safe. And now that nervous system is running the relationship. But here's what she actually experiences on the receiving end of that dynamic. She stops feeling like she's in a relationship with someone and starts feeling like she's responsible for managing someone. When he asks, "Are you okay? Did I do something wrong? Are we okay?" 15 minutes into a quiet mood, what's moving through her is not, "He cares." It's, "I can never just have a hard day without this becoming about us." Versus when a man can hold space for her emotions without collapsing into them. When he can say, "I can see you're off today. I'm here. You don't have to explain anything." And then just be there. Something in her registers, this is someone I can actually rest around. And that's when she stops pulling back and starts leaning in. 2. They agree with everything she says. Most couples mistake agreeableness for harmony, and most nice guys have spent years believing that being easy to get along with, never pushing back, always validating, is a form of love. It looks like consideration. It looks like maturity. But here's the part no one talks about. You can't be attracted to someone you can't locate. Attraction isn't just physical, it's psychological. And psychologically, we are drawn to people who have a defined inner world. Opinions, values, edges. Not aggression, edges. The kind of gentle resistance that says, "I'm actually someone. I'm not just here to agree with you." When you agree with everything she says, when you shift your preferences to match hers, when you never say, "I actually say that differently," her nervous system picks up on it. And quietly, without her consciously choosing it, the respect starts to thin. Picture this. She says she's thinking of taking a job offer that you genuinely feel has serious red flags. The agreeable version. "Yeah, sounds exciting. Whatever you think is best." The real version. "Honestly, I see a couple of things that concern me. Do you want to talk through it?" Not because you're trying to control her decision, but because you're actually invested enough to be honest. He actually has a perspective, something in her thinks. He's not just telling me what I want to hear. And that small distinction is the difference between a partner she respects and someone she eventually just stops consulting. 3. They over-explain, over-apologize, and over-justify every feeling. Most people in relationships confuse over-communication with emotional vulnerability. And nice guys especially have been told that expressing themselves, owning their feelings, and taking responsibility is what evolved men do. And it is. But there's a line. And most nice guys don't even know it exists until they've crossed it 100 times. The deeper truth is this. Genuine emotional vulnerability says, "Here's what I feel." Over-justifying says, "Here's my feeling, and here's why it's valid, and here's why you shouldn't be upset by it. And here's the context, and I'm sorry if it came out wrong, and I just want to make sure we're okay." The first one opens space. The second one actually closes it. Because what she's registering in the second version isn't openness, it's anxiety. And emotional anxiety in a partner is exhausting to be around, even when you love them. Imagine he says he felt hurt when she cancelled their plans. The over-justifying version? I mean, I'm not trying to make this a big thing. I know you were tired. I guess I was looking forward to it. I don't know, forget it. Are we okay? Versus, hey, I was looking forward to last night. I felt let down when it got cancelled. Full stop. No apology for having a feeling. No softening it into nothing. Just a clean, grounded expression. And something in her thinks, he knows how to hold his own experience without needing me to manage it for him. That's not distance. That's dignity. And it is quietly magnetic. 4. They use kindness as a currency. And this is the one most couples never figure out. At least, not consciously. Most nice guys aren't being kind from a place of pure overflow. They're being kind from a place of quiet investment. The favors, the check-ins, the going out of his way. It doesn't feel transactional to him. He genuinely cares. But underneath the behavior, there's a hidden ledger.
I've been so good to her.
Why doesn't she seem to feel closer to me? Here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. When kindness is driven by the unspoken hope that it will generate connection, security, or love in return, she feels it. Not intellectually, viscerally. Her nervous system is reading the energetic current beneath the action before her mind can articulate it. And what it registers isn't generosity. It's need, dressed up as giving. Not because he's manipulative, but because the kindness is doing the emotional work his actual presence should be doing. The contrast is everything here. The version that distances, he buys her flowers after a fight, without addressing what the fight was actually about. The version that connects, he sits across from her, looks her in the eyes, and says, I want to understand what actually hurt you. One is a gesture. One is a presence. And he actually wants to understand me. Something in her feels in the second moment. He's not just trying to smooth this over. That's when the walls start to come down. Not because he did more, but because he showed up differently. 5. They suppress their own wants and needs to seem low maintenance. Most guys have internalized the idea that being too needy is the relationship killer. And so they quietly compress themselves. They don't bring up the thing that bothered them. They say, I'm good with whatever, when they're not. They absorb her emotional weight without ever showing their own. They make themselves small to take up less space. And they do it out of genuine love. Because they don't want to be a burden. But here's what changes everything. When you consistently have no visible needs, when you never ask for anything, never admit you're struggling, never bring yourself into the room as a full human being who has wants and limits, she doesn't experience that as easy. She experiences it as disconnected. Because intimacy requires two people with actual interior lives, and a man with no visible needs doesn't feel like a safe partner. He feels like a stranger, wearing a very helpful mask. She brings something heavy to him. A fear about her career. A grief she's been carrying. He listens perfectly. Never shares a single thing in return. Never says, honestly, I've been feeling that too. Or, that reminds me of something I've been sitting with. The version that creates distance. He stays perfectly fine, perfectly present for her, perfectly surface. The version that creates real closeness. Bro, I've actually been carrying something similar. Can I tell you? And what moves through her in that moment is, he's actually letting me in. That's when the relationship stops being his job and starts being theirs. 6. They make the relationship the most important thing in their life, and she can feel it. Here's the part no one talks about. Most nice guys organize their entire world around the relationship. Their mood follows her mood. Their weekend plans are defined by her availability. Their sense of purpose quietly narrows to the relationship itself. And this comes from love. Total, genuine love. But from the outside, from her perspective, what it looks like is someone who has stopped being interesting. And what it feels like is pressure. The deeper emotional truth is that attraction requires polarity. Not dominance, not game playing, polarity. The magnetic pull between two people who are both actively living. When you had a life, passions, friends, ambitions, a thing that lit you up independent of her, she felt the pull of wanting to be part of that energy. The moment you made her the source of that energy, the polarity flipped. Not because she stopped caring, but because her nervous system doesn't know how to be attracted to something that is entirely about her. The disconnecting version: he cancels plans with his friends again to be available just in case she wants to do something. The connecting version: I've got plans with the guys Saturday, let's do Sunday. And here's the thing. She doesn't feel abandoned. She feels something she hasn't felt in a while. She feels like she misses him.
I forgot what it felt like to want to see him.
Something in her registers. That's not manipulation. That's just what happens when two full people orbit each other, instead of one person revolving entirely around the other. 7. They're afraid to disappoint her, so they never fully commit to themselves. Most people in relationships confuse people-pleasing with love. And most nice guys are so deeply afraid of causing pain, of being the reason she's upset, of losing her, that they have quietly stopped being fully honest. They don't say what they actually want. They don't draw limits. They agree to things that cost them. And over time, this quiet self-abandonment doesn't just hurt him, it hollows out the relationship. Here's the emotional truth beneath this. A woman cannot feel fully safe with a man she can't trust to tell her the truth. Not because she wants conflict, but because she needs to know that what he says to her is real. That his yes actually means yes, and his "I'm fine" actually means fine. When she senses, and she always senses, that he's agreeing out of fear rather than genuine choice, something in the foundation shifts. Not all at once, but brick by brick. He doesn't want to go to her friend's event, but he goes. And he's present in body and absent everywhere else. The distancing version: silent resentment wrapped in politeness. The connecting version: honestly, I'm not really feeling this one. Can I sit this out? I'll be glad to see you after. It's honest. It might briefly disappoint, but what it gives her is something more valuable than a man who never says no. It gives her a man she can actually believe. And when she can believe you, she can trust you. And when she can trust you, she can choose you, fully, without the quiet doubt that slowly erodes everything. And here's what I want you to take with you from all of this. These aren't flaws. They're not evidence that you're unlovable or broken or that love isn't meant for you.
Every single one of these patterns
Came from somewhere real. From a boy who learned early that love required a certain kind of performance. And that boy was just trying to survive. But you're not that boy anymore. And the relationship you want, the one where she looks at you like she chose you on purpose every day, that relationship is built by a man who has learned to show up as himself. All of him. The real, opinionated, sometimes complicated, deeply feeling human being underneath all that niceness. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation to stop shrinking yourself into someone easier to keep and start becoming someone impossible to forget. Because the relationship you want starts the moment you stop trying to be the perfect partner and decide to become a real one. And that's the whole game.